If you found this channel, you might be going through something that few people can even imagine. Benzodiazepine withdrawal can feel like the end of everything you knew. I know, because I've been there. And if you're in that space now, this space is for you. This isn't therapy. It isn't medical advice. What I share here is lived experience, research, and the truth that most people, even doctors, don't talk about. When you feel like you're losing yourself, when the waves hit hardest, you need more than a textbook. You need a voice that understands. And that's what this channel is, a place to hold on and to remember that healing is happening, even if it feels impossible. Welcome to Through the Waves. Let's begin. Welcome back. After survival comes truth. And one of those truths is this: we were never meant to heal alone. When you've lived through the kind of isolation withdrawal brings, human connection becomes something complicated. You want it. You ache for it, but it can also feel terrifying. In the depths of recovery, the world shrinks to the size of your symptoms. You learn to measure safety in quiet rooms, predictable routines, small comforts. But as healing continues, something in you begins to look outward again. You start to wonder, can I rejoin the world? Will anyone understand me now? That's where reconnection begins, not with grand gestures, but with curiosity. It's the moment you lift your head even slightly and notice that life is still happening around you. Reconnection after trauma isn't easy, especially when your trust in your body, and sometimes in people, has been shattered. For many of us, the first encounters back into the world felt strange. Sounds too sharp, lights too bright, people too fast. Even small talk could feel like static, meaningless noise when your soul had been living in survival silence. You might question if you can ever relate again. You might look at others laughing, eating, living, and feel like a ghost among the living. That's normal. You spent so long observing life from the outside that re-entry takes time. The key isn't to force yourself into connection. It's to allow it gradually. Start small, a short walk, a single conversation, text to a friend you trust. You don't have to explain everything. You don't have to be understood completely. Sometimes it's enough just to exist beside someone else again. Healing begins in proximity. One of the hardest lessons of protracted withdrawal is that your sense of safety isn't just biological, it's relational. The nervous system doesn't heal in isolation, it heals in connection. Each calm, compassionate exchange tells your brain, you are safe here. Each gentle conversation lowers cortisol, eases breathing, and retrains the emotional reflexes that once kept you on guard. It's why genuine kindness feels medicinal. A friend who listens without trying to fix. A loved one who sits quietly beside you. Even brief eye contact with someone who sees you, not as broken, but as brave. These moments are therapy without words. Still, connection after trauma requires boundaries. You've changed deeply. Not everyone will understand what you've lived through, and that's okay. You're allowed to protect your peace while you rebuild trust. Relationships that survive this stage, or form because of it, often become the most authentic ones of your life. They're not built on performance, they're built on truth. Reconnection also brings grief, because as you begin to participate in life again, you might notice what and who didn't make it through with you. Some relationships fade, others break. It's painful, but it's also part of rebirth. You're not the same person you were before withdrawal, and not everyone will meet you where you are now. But that's not a loss, it's alignment. You're shedding what no longer resonates, making room for what's real. This grief carries wisdom. It teaches you discernment. Who truly supports your peace? Who drains it? Who listens to understand rather than to respond? And with that awareness, you start to choose differently. You begin building your circle with intention. Healing refines your relationships. It filters them through truth. As your heart reopens, empathy deepens. Not the soft, sentimental kind, but the kind forged through suffering. You begin to sense pain in others almost instinctively. You recognize trauma without it needing to be spoken. That sensitivity, once overwhelming, becomes a gift when you learn to regulate it. It makes you the person who can sit with someone else's darkness without needing to fix it, because you know what it means to survive your own. And that's where purpose quietly returns, not through ambition or achievement, but through presence. You find meaning in the small ways you contribute, comforting, creating, listening, and simply existing with awareness. This is life rebuilt, not loud, but profound. One day, you'll catch yourself laughing, genuinely laughing, and realize you didn't think about your symptoms for a while. You'll make eye contact without fear. You'll regulate gratitude, not as practice, but as a natural response to being alive. That's when you know you've crossed into a new chapter, not cured, but whole. You may still have hard days, and that's okay. Connection doesn't erase struggle, it gives it context. It reminds you that even pain can be shared, and in sharing, it softens. And as you stand here, surrounded by the quiet hum of life resuming, you'll know something profound. You're part of humanity again. Not because you were never broken, but because you've learned what it truly means to be human. Because being human isn't about being perfect. It isn't about being stable every day or having every emotion neatly packaged. It's about being real, responsive, vulnerable, and adaptive. Withdrawal strips you bare. It removes roles, masks, expectations. And what's left, what survives the fire, is the most honest version of yourself you've ever met. You begin to understand humanity in a way people who haven't lived through extreme suffering rarely do. You recognize fragility, not as weakness, but as the fabric of existence. You understand strength, not as force, but as endurance, the quiet choice to keep going, even when you're terrified. In a strange way, recovery forces you to live the human condition in its rawest form. You believe everything, deeply, painfully, overwhelmingly. You cling to life with a fierceness that most people never need to access. You learn that survival is not a linear upward climb, but a daily act of courage. And because of that, you also learn compassion on a level that feels almost instinctual. You sense when someone else is hurting, even when they hide it behind a smile. You can hear the tremor in a voice, see the heaviness in someone's eyes. You've lived in those shadows, and that gives you a kind of emotional fluency that can't be taught. You start to understand that being human is not about what you produce, or how consistently you show up, or how reliable you play a role. It's about how deeply you feel, how honestly you connect, and how gently you treat yourself and others. And maybe the most unexpected realization in this, even after the worst pain imaginable, you're still capable of love. You're still capable of hope, connection, and purpose. That capacity, that resilience, is humanity. You've been to the edges of existence. You've walked through a landscape most people don't even know exists. And somehow you're still here, rebuilding, reconnecting, relearning how to live. That isn't just healing. That's wisdom. That's transformation. And from this point forward, your life isn't defined by the damage, but by the depth you've gained, by the truth you carry, by the awareness that nothing, not fear, not suffering, not withdrawal, can erase the core of who you are. This is the ground you stand on as you begin to create a life not rooted in survival, but in tension. A life built with clarity, depth, compassion, and choice. And that's where we're headed next. Because episode 10 isn't about endings. It's about emergence. It's about stepping out of the identity of someone recovering and stepping into the identity of someone living.